Warning! The views and opinions expressed on Data and Dissonance are not for the faint of heart, the woke, or anyone still sipping soy lattes while pretending CNN is news. Listener discretion is advised, but for patriots, freethinkers, and anyone who ever had gumbo for breakfast, you're exactly where you need to be.
Tonight, we're not just talking about Louisiana. We're coming to you from Louisiana. I'm back in Cajun country, parked in my solar-powered camper right next to Mom's place, soaking in the swamp air and watching the sun drop behind the oaks. And wouldn't you know it, just as I get back home, Louisiana goes and lands itself on the front page again. The feds and Governor Jeff Landry just cut the ribbon on Camp 57, a brand new detention center tucked inside the walls of Angola Prison, built to house what they're calling the worst of the worst illegal immigrants. Landry stood there grinning with DHS officials, calling it the Louisiana Lockup, bragging about the gators in the lake and the bears in the woods like the swamp itself is part of the security system. To the left, it's barbaric. To the right, it's common sense. But down here, it's more than headlines. It's our backyard. And when you pair Camp 57 with Trump talking about sending the National Guard into New Orleans, you realize the spotlight isn't just on Louisiana politics anymore. It's on Louisiana itself. So tonight, from the bayou to the big stage, we're going to break it down. Is this real policy, tough love, or political theater dressed in Cajun colors? All right, before we dive into Camp 57 and everything heating up down here in Louisiana, let me introduce the full crew at the table tonight. First up, we've got Rachel, our independent voice. She doesn't take marching orders from the left or the right, and she's always quick to point out when politicians are dressing up theater as policy. Then there's Brian, our MAGA firebrand. If President Trump or Governor Jeff Landry say it's time to act, Brian's not just nodding. He's already in the truck with the flag flying, ready to shout it from the rooftops. Next, we've got Daniel, the conspiracy board general himself. He's the guy who looks at a headline and sees the connections the mainstream press pretends aren't there, whether it's deep state fingerprints, globalist strings, or the ghosts of FEMA camps past. And rounding us out is Skylar, our progressive Green Party voice. She's the one talking climate policy while the rest of us argue over crime stats. And she's never shy about reminding us that social justice and environmental issues don't just disappear when the cameras shut off. And me? I'm Artie J. Roy III, your host. For the month of September, I'm bringing this show to you straight from Cajun country, broadcasting out of my solar camper parked next to Mom's place. The bayou's buzzing, the coffee's strong, and we're about to stir the pot. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the Caleb Rourke Thriller series. The Covenant Protocol and the Prophet Directive are out now on Amazon, and Book 3, Black Echo Rising, is coming this December. If you like political thrillers with grit, conspiracies, and action that feels ripped from tomorrow's headlines, this series is for you. And while we're talking about grit, let's talk coffee. Our Data and Dissonance blends are roasted right here in the USA. Whether you're a High Lakes light roast type who likes a smooth citrus kick, a Rock Creek medium roast drinker who craves balance and boldness, or a Bitterroot dark roast warrior who wants that strong finish, we've got a bag with your name on it. Pair it with one of our mugs or tumblers from the merch store, and you're not just drinking coffee. You're fueling the fight. Check it all out at dataanddissonance.printify.me. All right, y'all, let's dive in. Camp J, the old wing at Angola, got shut down back in 2018 because even Louisiana said it was too brutal. Now it's been reopened, rebranded, and renamed Camp 57. Governor Jeff Landry stood there smiling with DHS brass, calling it the Louisiana Lockup, and bragging about the gators in the lake and the bears in the woods, like the swamp itself is on the payroll. Some folks call it common sense, others call it barbaric. Rachel, let me start with you. Is this reform or just lipstick on a crawfish?
Artie, it's lipstick on a crawfish and then some. The state closed Camp J because of abuse and mismanagement, not because it was underused. Now they've slapped a shiny new name on it, cut a ribbon, and want us to believe it's progress. This isn't policy. It's optics. It's Landry flexing for cameras while dodging the fact that detention doesn't fix the system. And let's not forget, the communities living near Angola weren't asked for their input. It's political theater in the swamps.
Lipstick on a crawfish. At least that's more Louisiana than lipstick on a pig. Though either way, it's still not prom ready. Brian, Rachel says this is theater. You say this is leadership. But is Angola's reputation enough to actually deter criminals, or is this just about sending a message?
Artie, this isn't just a message. It's a warning label in neon lights. These aren't jaywalkers. These are rapists, drug dealers, murderers. The Biden crowd let these people slip through, but Trump and Landry are locking them up. If criminals know the alternative to sanctuary cities is a swamp prison with gators and guards, maybe, just maybe, they think twice. It's not barbaric, it's justice. And frankly, it's long overdue.
So basically, Louisiana's new tourism slogan is, visit the bayou, unless you're a cartel hitman. Daniel, your turn. When you hear Camp 57, do you see reform or FEMA camp cosplay?
Oh, I see the cosplay, Artie. Think about it. They shut this place down for being too extreme, then reopened it under an emergency order. They didn't just call it a detention center, they branded it Camp 57, matching the governor's number. That's symbolism. That's marketing. It's about telling the country, look at Louisiana, we're the tough guys, but symbols are always layered. You can bet this is testing ground for something bigger. It always starts local, then it scales up.
Only Daniel could turn gators and bears into deep state mascots. I swear you've probably got FEMA camp blueprints stashed in that suit pocket. Skylar, let me toss this your way. Progressives are calling this barbaric. Is Louisiana crossing the line or just doing what Washington refuses to?
It's absolutely crossing a line. Reviving a notorious wing that was shut down for cruelty and abuse isn't reform, it's regression. And painting it with Cajun colors doesn't make it better. We're talking about human beings, many of whom haven't had fair trials, being dumped into a place with a documented history of mistreatment. To me, that's not justice. It's state-sanctioned cruelty.
Skylar, buddy, I love you, but if you tried hugging a gator to make your point, the only thing progressive would be how fast you became lunch. All right, let's talk brass tacks. Louisiana rushed this thing open under an emergency order. That means oversight was slim, budgets were fast-tracked, and accountability got tossed in the gumbo pot. So let me ask y'all, do you trust Louisiana to run this without slipping back into the abuses that shut Camp J down?
Nope. History matters. This place was shut because guards lost control, weapons were found, people were beaten. Now it's suddenly safe because a governor said so. Oversight is everything, and right now, oversight is absent. The same problems will repeat, only now they'll say it's okay because these are immigrants instead of state prisoners. It's dangerous.
Rachel just called Louisiana government dangerous. That's like saying gumbo is a little spicy. Understatement of the year. Brian, critics say this is a money pit with no accountability. Do you care about the cost, or is safety priceless?
Look, I care about cost, but not as much as I care about families being safe. How much is your daughter's life worth if one of these criminals slips through? I'll tell you, more than the price tag on Camp 57. Liberals love to scream about budgets, but they never count the cost of crime, of drugs, of lost lives. So yes, it's worth every penny.
Brian's basically saying, put it on the credit card. Trump 2028 will pay it off later. Daniel, you love following the money. Who benefits most from a fast-tracked Camp 57?
Oh, I've got receipts, construction contracts, guard overtime, ICE's federal budget pipeline. These facilities aren't just policy, they're profit centers. Somebody's making money off this. Every time you hear emergency order, think fast-track cash flow. And the big winners? The same companies who bankroll politicians.
Daniel's the only guy I know who can smell corruption faster than crawfish at a boil. And both stink when left out in the sun. Skylar, what about the human cost? Are you worried Louisiana's just sweeping people into a dungeon to make headlines?
Yes, and that's the point. This isn't about justice, it's about optics. People are being warehoused to prove a point. That's not solving root issues, it's hiding them. It's cruelty as campaign messaging, and it's wrong.
Skylar, you talk about root issues like we're planting sunflowers. This isn't a co-op garden, it's a prison wing full of cartel thugs. Last round, let's zoom out. Louisiana's suddenly the poster child for tough-on-crime immigration. Trump's praising Landry, DHS is holding press conferences here, and the spotlight is brighter than a Bourbon Street sign. But what does it really mean? Rachel, is Louisiana leading the way, or is this just political grandstanding?
It's grandstanding with a side of opportunism. Landry wants to look like a national player, Trump wants a soundbite, and DHS wants to show they're doing something. The real problems? Immigration reform? Border control, systemic fixes? Remain untouched. Louisiana is the stage, not the solution.
Rachel calling this a stage play. Well, at least down here we know how to do theater. It's called Mardi Gras. Brian, same question. Is this leadership or a stunt?
Leadership, plain and simple. Landry didn't just talk, he acted. Trump didn't just tweet, he backed it. Compare that to Democrats wringing their hands on cable news. The difference is results. This is how you take the fight to crime and chaos.
Brian, if Landry declared war on mosquitoes tomorrow, you'd be out there in the swamp with a flamethrower yelling MAGA. Daniel, last shot. What's the hidden play here?
Symbolism, control, and expansion. You don't reopen a notorious camp just for a few hundred detainees. This is a test balloon. If it works, or even if it doesn't, it'll be used to justify more camps, more surveillance, more control. Always watch the scale. Today, it's Angola. Tomorrow, it's nationwide.
Daniel, if you ever start selling string maps of your theories, I'm buying stock. They're more entertaining than Netflix. Skylar, bring us home. What's the progressive read on the big picture here?
The big picture is simple. We're normalizing cruelty. Once you accept that a brutal prison wing is fine for immigrants, you start accepting more erosion of rights across the board. That's not just inhumane, it's dangerous for democracy itself.
Skylar, only you could make a Louisiana prison wing sound like the fall of the Roman Empire. Next, you'll say the Gators are plotting against democracy too. So, there you have it, folks. From lipstick on a crawfish critiques to Brian's full-blown MAGA flamethrower. From Daniel's FEMA camp vibes to Skylar's Roman Empire collapse. Camp 57 is already living up to its reputation. Infamous. The question is whether this is Louisiana leading the charge or Louisiana playing the role of political theater. Either way, the bayou is on the big stage now. All right, we've gone around the table and chewed on Camp 57 from every angle. Before we shut it down for the night, let's go one last round. Final thoughts. Rachel, let's start with you.
My takeaway is simple. Louisiana just stepped onto the national stage with Camp 57, but what's happening inside those walls matters more than the headlines. History tells us that abuse and neglect thrive when oversight is weak, and the fact that Camp J was shut down for those very reasons should make everyone cautious. Yes, violent offenders need to be dealt with, but if we celebrate cruelty as a solution, we'll regret it later. To me, the big danger is normalizing something brutal simply because it looks tough. We owe it to ourselves and our values to demand real solutions, not ribbon-cutting photo ops.
Rachel bringing the sober warning as always. It's like she's the designated driver of this panel, keeping us from driving the MAGA party bus into the ditch.
Look, I hear Rachel, but I couldn't disagree more. Camp 57 is a victory, plain and simple. Louisiana stepped up where Washington failed. Trump and Landry aren't waiting for permission from Democrats who'd rather protect criminals than protect citizens. This is about law and order, about showing that America still has a spine, and if it takes Gators, Bears, and Angola's reputation to make that point, then so be it. Criminal illegals don't deserve comfort, they deserve consequences. Louisiana just sent a message to the whole country. Break the law here, and you won't like the result.
Brian's basically ready to market Camp 57 as a tourist attraction. Come for the crawfish, stay for the hard time.
What I see is something deeper. Symbols matter, and Camp 57 is one big symbol. They didn't just reopen a prison wing, they branded it with the governor's number, wrapped it in tough guy optics, and sold it to the country as justice. But the truth is, this is about control. You normalize reopening dungeons, you normalize emergency orders, and soon you normalize government expansion in ways nobody agreed to. Camp 57 is more than a detention center. It's a pilot program for conditioning the public. That's how power grows, and if we ignore that, we're blind to the pattern.
Daniel, I swear, if Louisiana opened a snowball stand called Camp 58, you'd say it was phase 2 of the globalist takeover. But hey, that's why we love you.
My final thought is that we can't lose sight of the human beings in this story. And it's easy to talk about gators, bears, and swamps, but at the end of the day, this is about people being locked in a facility with a documented history of abuse. That matters. We can't call ourselves a free country while celebrating cruelty. Louisiana deserves better solutions, ones that tackle the roots of crime and immigration issues, not ones that warehouse people in dungeons to score political points. Progress has to mean humanity, or it's not progress at all.
Skylar, buddy, you're the only one I know who could make a Louisiana prison wing sound like a Greenpeace campaign. Next, you'll be telling us to free the gators, too. All right, panel, let me take us home. Here's where I land on Camp 57. I grew up here. Cajun country isn't just a backdrop, it's my roots. Born and raised right here, I know the grit, I know the pride, and I know the weight of carrying more than our share down in Louisiana. Hell, I even graduated with Ben, Governor Jeff Landry's brother. So when I talk about this place, it's personal. Camp 57 is a statement to criminals, to Washington, and to the country. It says Louisiana won't wait for permission to protect its people. But at the same time, Rachel's right. History doesn't vanish because you rebrand it. Oversight matters, accountability matters, and we can't ignore that Camp J's ghosts are still in those walls. To Brian, it's victory. To Daniel, it's symbolism. To Skylar, it's cruelty. To me, it's Louisiana on the front lines once again. Messy, complicated, but impossible to ignore. And maybe that's the lesson tonight. The bayou doesn't just survive, it defines. That's tonight's show. We'll be back tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Until then, remember to speak truth, stir thought.